Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the podcast. I'm your host, Joe Love. Here with another edition of Sports Overview Topics. This is for episode 144 on the podcast. Final Four has been set for college basketball, and it is a joy now as March is near an end, and it is good. It is good. After a wild march of college basketball, we are now down to the Final Four, and we're going to go over how each team has cemented their path and give thoughts on the games on Saturday as we go forward. But with that, talk about the XFL a bit. Have not really said much, but last were pretty much midway or a little over midway through the season, the regular season for the XFL. And so far, the leading candidate for the best team has been DC Defenders, coached by Reggie Barlow, Greg Williams. A stud team all around as they beat the Houston Roughnecks. Go over more. Also, give thoughts on the UFC fights that happened last night, as well as the NHL standings where it stand right now. But got a bunch to talk about today on the podcast, so thank you for joining me. Of course, before we get into it, if you're new to the podcast and you want to see more of these videos, click the subscription box down below and click that notification bell for all notifications on the channel and find out when I upload everything. But last, thank you, and let's get started. 1 sec. Aha, we made it this time. Alright, Final Four. Let's get started with that. So, wait 1 second. Check one thing really quick. Okay. Can wait. My last. The Final Four teams have been set. As far as the men's go, San Diego State will take on FAU for Atlantic on Saturday, as well as Miami, who will take on UConn. Miami denied both Texas teams, Houston and Texas, the number 1 and number 2 seeds, to get here. And I get it, but at the same time, I don't. For people to say that there's no real, that these teams aren't very good, it's kind of lazy. Because you look at the path, San Diego State has dealt to get here, and with their defense, they've been very good, very good. And it came full circle in against Alabama. And now with San Diego State, well, first let's talk about the path before the Crane game, and then we'll talk about the ending. So, yeah, San Diego State on a dogfight versus Charleston flew out Furman, well deserved. Came back to beat up Alabama in the second half. And then the other day, winning by 1 versus Creighton. Now, of course, with the way it ended, you know, I am one of those guys that, will say that I don't like, and I think a lot of people will say it too, they don't like the refs deciding games. And that's how many feel about this game. Because, well, they were tied with a few seconds left in the game. And San Diego State misses a jumper for 2, and due to contact on San Diego State, they called a foul and allowed him to shoot free throws and was 1 for 2, allowing just a smidgen of time left on the clock for Creighton. Wow, for one miracle type of play. Credit to the guy from Creighton being able to hurl it from one side of the court to the other, but just couldn't corral enough to get a shot off. And there was that. But alas, San Diego State moves on. Had very good defense throughout thus far. Not as good as UConn's, but still, they've been very good. And they're gonna have to go up against a game FAU team. The Owls have had a stellar path as well to get here. I mean, they should have lost to Memphis, in my opinion. They should have lost to Memphis. But, those calls and at the last seconds, and they win by 1 in the first round to send Memphis home. Then then it was the battle of the upsets. The intriguing battle against FTU, who was riding high after upsetting the number 1 ranked Purdue. And it was a dogfight all throughout, but in the end, FTU pulled away, and FTU got it done by 8. they beat a stud Tennessee team who knocked out the proverbial hottest team in the league, Duke, who is coming in a game on a 10-game win streak. But alas, they beat Tennessee, and then they beat a strong Kansas City team who, I mean, Kansas State, you know, look, they certainly exceeded expectations, from being ranked pretty much the bottom of the Big 12. Or predicted before the season began. And then, in the end, after winning a tough game in overtime versus the Spartans, they came up short against FAU. And FAU, it's going to be fun. It's going to be an intriguing battle between San Diego and FAU. And then, I got to film Miami, but there we go. Miami versus UConn. This is going to be fun as well. But UConn, do have to agree. UConn has set itself apart in every game this season, or this postseason. They're the only one. You can kind of say that. They're the only one who's been pulling away in each game this season. They blew out Iona. They blew out St. Mary's. They blew out Arkansas, who again I thought was going to be much tougher than they did. And if that wasn't crazy enough, they blew out Gonzaga. So, how will Miami come up in this matchup? Well, Miami's great. They're tough. It's going to be unique, but Miami will certainly pose an interesting test to the Huskies because, the way they've just battled throughout this postseason. They had their moments for strike, but they pulled away. Indiana looked uneasy, but they pulled away. Against Houston, they kept finding the rhythm, and they punched out Houston, and then they punched out Texas. So, if you want to say UConn's looked the most impressive, okay, but I'd say Miami has had a real tough road to get here as well when it's come to taking out the top two teams ranked in your region is good enough, and the proverbial favorite in Houston, well, the one besides Kansas and Houston, but it's gotta be fun to see. If I have to guess, who's gonna meet in the finale, in the finals? Determine, I'd say UConn and San Diego State. That's me. But, it's gonna be unique. I mean, look, those who complain about no real big schools, in this Final Four, I mean, it's fairly lazy. This is why you do March Madness. This is how crazy it can be because, Florida Atlantic, Miami, San Diego State, all have paved the way and all done their dues to get here, pay their dues, and well deserved. Well deserved. But yeah, San Diego State and UConn is my prediction for the national title. We'll see though. We'll see how it shakes up on Saturday. We'll see. UFC Fight Night again was on Saturday. Took place. Headlined by two intriguing battles headline. In the co-headliner, Holly Holm took on Yana Santos, aka Yana Kunitskaya, her former teammate, but who of course now is married to Thiago Santos, Maheta in the UFC. But alas, Holly Holm at 41, still getting done in a good fashion. She really had her way against now to the main event. Corey Sandhagen versus Marlon Chito Vera, a key fight in the UFC bantamweight division between two top-ranked contenders. How will it shake out? Well, between the Sandman and Chito, it seemed pretty decisive as Corey Sandhagen, with his movement and timing, picked his shots and applied pressure to Chito Vera ultimately to get the win and control the fight. Split decision. This is the thing. How some judges can be so dumb. So dumb. I mean, if you told me Chito won that fight, a judge should at least have to be able to be asked after fight, in a press conference or something. It's like, how did you see the fight? I mean, yes, we can look at scorecards because people, upload the scorecards on social media now, but, it's like, seriously, how did you view the fight, or why did you view the fight in that way? I mean, like, what did you see? What did you honestly see for Chito winning literally 3 out of 5 rounds. But yeah, I mean, nonetheless, at least San Diego got the job. He called out Marab after fight. I mean, Marab just had a dominant performance over Peter Yan. The bantamweight division is looking quite interesting at the top. Quite interesting. Because you have Aljamain Sterling, who's going to fight Henry Cejudo in May. Excuse me. I think either next month or May. Either way, he's going to fight him soon. You have Sean O'Malley, who just beat Peter Yan. So he's going to be right there. I mean, the jury's still on Dominic Cruz being back. He's there. Pedro Munoz. But I mean, Corey Sandhagen, although he called out Marab, he's going to have no shortage of fights at the top. I mean, when it's him, I would love to see him against Sean O'Malley, see how that goes. But, yeah, we'll see. We'll see how it goes. But, it's going to be fun to watch. It's a shame TJ Dillashaw, quote-unquote, retired. But, yeah, how it goes. But, yeah. On to the XFL. We haven't talked about the XFL really much, but, we're in towards or I should say we passed the marker for the midway through the XFL regular season. And just give thoughts and a little bit of insight throughout games thus far. But so DC Guardians currently, as we speak, are 6-0. The only undefeated team left in the XFL, anchored by quarterback Jordan Ta'amu, Derek King, their very good defense, anchored by Coach Greg Williams. I mean, they are studs across the board, so they've been very good. The Seattle Sea Dragons have been coming on strong after starting 0-2, have won 4 straight, and they're now 4-2, tied with Battlehawks in the North. The way it stands, the top 2 teams from each division make the playoffs. So as it would stand right now, DC and Seattle would represent the North. Houston and Arlington would represent the South. Now, the Roughnecks, headlined by head coach Wade Phillips. Shoot, what did I press? Well, there we go. But Houston Roughnecks have been pretty stout thus far. They gave the defenders the other night a bit of a scare. A bit of a scare. You know, for me, I would love if they kept going with Cole McDonald. You know, he gave them a boost the other night, and you know, he just seems like that more pro-style quarterback. You know, I mean, certainly be interesting to see how they do down the stretch. Arlington's been fairly well at 3-3. I feel bad for Orlando Guardians, 0-6. I mean, just been tough outing. I would say. But yeah, pretty much all of the North is pretty tough, except for Vegas Vipers. But a little bit of thought. Yeah. The NHL. The NHL is in an interesting time throughout the season, and gotta give a little bit of a look at that. But interesting note, as it stands, we have a new king of the Central Division currently, or at the top, as the Minnesota Wild, based on who are 7-1-2 in their last 10 games, are just a game ahead of the Colorado Avalanche, the reigning Stanley Cup champions, who are 9-1, their share in their last 10 on a 3-game win streak. But the Wild, stand tough. I believe it was against the Islanders. Yeah, against the Islanders the other day, where I saw at work they had the big screen on, and that was a tough game. Losing in overtime, extra innings, or whatever you want to call it in hockey. They lose 5-4, but ultimately, since then, the Wild have been on a tear. So they've been such the Golden Knights. No surprise, they're at the top of the Pacific. 8-2 in their last 10, although they lost their last game. So it's part of the Pacific. The Metropolitan has been uneasy as of late, but still getting it done. Funny. Yeah, funny. Carolina, still hanging on to the top seed in the Metropolitan, despite being 4-5-1 in the last, 4-5-1 in the last 10, and they've lost 2 straight, but they're at the top of their division, and I hate the fan when it blows off stuff, but yeah. But the New York Rangers, though, are coming. They're 8-1-1 in the last 10, so interesting enough. Boston Bruins continue to be the workhorses of the NHL. Not much to say. I mean, 57, 12, and 5. They're double-digit games ahead of the Maple Leafs. Tough. And 7-3 in the last 10. I mean, they're probably not as unbeatable as they looked, to start the season, but still, I mean, still going strong. So, a little bit of an update as far as the NHL. Alas. Shoot, where did my notes go? Great, now I have to look for my notes because stupid fan blew off my stuff. And there we go. Yikes. But figure might as well, talk about it, but Lamar Jackson requested a trade from the Baltimore Ravens. I mean, look. This whole saga with Lamar Jackson has been very odd this offseason. Very odd. Because, look, he doesn't have an agent. That's first of all. So, he doesn't really have someone to do communication for him. I mean, yes, his wife and the NFL Players Association kind of helps him, but he doesn't really have an active, agent to help negotiate on his behalf. So there's that, and thus, he's been kind of bombarded with, this guy is trying to help talk to teams for him, but not, which Lamar to deny. I mean, it's very weird. Supposedly the Ravens have offered something, and then there's the Sean Watson fully guaranteed contract. There's that. I mean, it's weird. But let's look at the facts, which may be holding up, these whole negotiations and why teams are probably tentative about Lamar. Okay. Facts for the good. He's won an MVP. That's a big, good sign. He's won an MVP. He's won a playoff game. That's the thing. Now the other side. He's 1-2 in the playoffs. 1-2. Lost against Chargers rookie season. Or I should say 1-3. Well, there you go. 1-0 by the Chargers his rookie year. 1 and done by the Titans his second year. Revenge against the Titans the following season, but failed versus the Bills in windy conditions in Buffalo the following season. I mean, it's been kind of tough sling for Lamar and the Ravens in the playoffs. So there's that. And, you know, there's plenty of variables to think about, but the fact remains he has missed substantial amount of time the last 2 seasons. He has failed to complete the last 2 seasons, regular season. Now, you could say it's contract, you could say it's injuries, regardless, he has not completed the last 2 seasons. Now, good news again, he's only 25. But bad news, people look at, well, a solid play. Part of him being injured and why they're tentative about him. And there'll always be people both like, well, he's done a relatively good job at staying healthy. Well, my argument against that is, well, he hasn't been able to finish out the last 2 seasons. So there's that. So, bottom line, you have a quarterback who has failed to who has missed a good amount of time already in his rookie contract. Okay, there's that. You have a quarterback who, again, with solid play, is more subject to risk as far as injury. But that's just how people view it. He has a losing record in the playoffs. I mean, doesn't have an agent, so negotiations may be tough. But those are facts. Now, do feel for Lamar. I mean, this shouldn't be very difficult to find a middle ground for a contract between the Ravens and Lamar, because he has been a model citizen for the Ravens. He has, in 2019, has been electric, not just in his MVP year, but he's been electric. They put defenses around him. They put offensive lines very good around him. The problem, of course, has been the playmakers besides Mark Andrews. I mean, just how it is. But with the way they run offense, with now Todd Monken bring in a new style of offense, we'll see. But there's plenty of questions, surrounding the saga, and it's just weird. And with him requesting a contract, we'll see. Or trade, I should say. I don't know, but we'll see. We'll see. But nonetheless, anyways, guys, that's what I have for the podcast today, guys. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Of course, click that like, leave a thumbs up for the video. Help out the channel. Yeah, but thank you guys. Be safe. As you gear towards April. But well, thank you guys. See you guys all next time. But thank you. Adios. Peace.